I love that music.
Me
It's
too.
actually the default one for StreamYard, but I love it. It's just a fun
I do like
using it.
that.
Hey, Cindy Lou here with the Be Bold You vodcast, podcast, whatever we're calling it this week, our broadcast, our weekly one, where I interview somebody who's living their life out loud and being bold in all that they do. Today, we are so excited to have and to welcome the author of I Am His, Dr. Roxanne Brown. And she has Roxanne Brown Robinson. You may have seen her out there as that. And we are so excited. We're going to talk about her book. We're also going to get to know her a little bit more today. So she is currently sharing it with her friends. And then I'm going to also go to my page and share it out. Why not? It's a fun thing to do. Hey. Reminder. I don't want to get the reminder. Now, if I do that, it's going to make noise. So I'm going to wait until you're talking. And then I'll mute myself and go do it. So welcome. So excited to have you. I'm going to zoom this out so folks can see more of where we are. We're both in our homes, as most of the world is right now. So I'm so excited. I was privileged to help Dr. Roxanne to create the book cover that you see there in the upper corner, and you shall enjoy this. Dr. Roxanne, please introduce yourself a little bit more for the folks.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so very, very excited to be here and to actually be in this interview with Cindy Lou. She has an amazing eye. So I'm going to just share a little bit about me. I am a mom. I am a woman in leadership. I am a midwife to women in transition. I am a financial literacy coach. I have a online leadership academy called Build Her Up for women in transition. I am a mom of two wonderful, very smart and lovely boys. I don't really like to talk about myself, but more importantly, I am God's glory carrier, and I take that as a privilege and an honor. I'm also now an author, and I have more books in me. But what I do more than anything is coach women to help them transition from trauma, from transitioning and things that have happened in their lives, which is the reason why I wrote the book in the first place. And the other thing that I wanted to share is that I am simply elated to be a part of God's kingdom and to be able to let women know that they are special and that they are God heirs in the kingdom. And whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you desire from God, you can have it if you believe it by faith. And that's what I believe. And so on today, I'm wearing a t-shirt that says, "For His Glory," which is part of one of the products that I created for the book. So enough about me, Cindy. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I definitely want to show off that shirt though. So I'm gonna solo you and let you stand up here so people can really see the shirt. So go ahead and stand up now so folks can.
Yeah, just show it real quick.
Yes.
It says "For His Glory."
Yes.
Ministry logo on the side. RB, which stands for Roxanne Brown Ministries International. I'm super excited about this, and we have another one that's going to be coming soon. So thank you, Cindy, for allowing me to share that.
Yeah, spectacular. So yeah, if you guys want to know about that, you can contact her, and we'll give you some of that information a little bit later in the show. So I have these 10 questions that I've been starting the show with to get to know who I'm talking with a little bit more. And feel free to expound on these or answer them as short and as quick as you want. They kind of stemmed out. I started them with the idea of kind of the actor studio where they had the 10 questions at the end that they kind of do rapid fire. We don't have to do rapid fire. We have about an hour total to kind of be here together. So here are the questions. Or actually, let me show them on the screen. Do you consider yourself more introverted or extroverted?
Believe it or not, I'm more introverted than most people think.
A lot of us are very introverted. Right? I think as authors, we need to take some time to be on our own. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we do.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
What phrase or quote encourages you the most?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What phrase or quote encourages you the most?
I've actually created my own, and it says, live on purpose. You have a purpose to live, so don't settle for mediocre. Go for the gusto.
Nice. I love that. Go for
Yeah,
the gusto.
every single day, because there's so much more that God wants us to have as his daughters, as his God heirs, and I'm going for the gusto. I'm going to leave this world empty. I'm going to do everything that he told me to do, being specific and strategic. Going for the gusto is the way to go. Why settle for being down here when you can go up higher? It's a no-brainer, at least for me.
So do you think most people do settle?
I would say, based on the women that I coach, the women that I counsel, that they're kind of just getting by. They're saying, they want to do this, they want to do that. But I asked a question to one of my clients the other day, which was simply, what do you do to pamper yourself? What type of self-care do you do, either on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis? Because it's something that I had to learn to do for Roxanne. And she couldn't think of one thing. Everything that she talked about surrounded her children, her husband, her dog, her cat, the things she was doing in the church. And I said, well, I'm just going to share you a little bit. It's behind me. I should have put it on the table, but I light a candle every night to remind me that I am the romantic, and that if God would bless me, when or if, either way, when God blesses me with a new husband, I'm going to be ready for him, because I'm going to be able to tell him I do self-care every week. I light a candle almost every night. I will have a really special dinner at least once a month, even if it's by myself. I take regular bubble baths, listen to my gospel jazz or whatever, but I take care of me. And sometimes I just turn this off and shut it down.
Turn that off. Oh no, we can't turn that off.
Yes, you have to. It's a must in order for you. And I want those who are listening to hear me. I fell flat on my face many, many times. I'm talking about physical illness, because I've just gone. They got little mouse on the treadmill, just gone till I passed out. And then I woke up one morning and I realized that I had breast cancer. So I felt like I wasn't paying attention to my body, because I was so busy over here doing for the church. Nothing wrong with serving. I'm always going to be a servant, doing for this person, for that person. And I forgot to take care of Roxanne. So I'm real adamant about self-care.
Come on.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your favorite color?
Pink.
Ooh, love it.
Mm-hmm.
And what energizes you? Speaking of self-care, this is something, we need to do what energizes us, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's a tough question. What energizes me? Well, it's not really tough. I believe what energizes me, Dr. Rock, is knowing that when I wake up in the morning, number one, that I'm still alive, because after having cancer, you celebrate that you're still alive. But knowing that when it's time for me to pick up the phone and speak to one of my clients, and I know that they're at the place where they're ready to transition from coming out of the nest and flying the way God says, fly like an eagle, that energizes me. That makes me feel like I've accomplished something in my life when I've helped somebody else.
Nice. What has been your favorite age?
My favorite age? Ooh, I would say when I was in my, no, that's not fair, Cindy. Let's see, my favorite age. Oh,
I know, it is
where I am now.
and
I'm not afraid to say how old I am. I am 64.
oh,
And
no way.
the best age ever. You know why? Raise my kids. I can enjoy my grandchildren. I can do whatever it is that I want to do. There's no constraints, because I've set my life up to be where I want to be. If I want to sit around in my pajamas all day long while I'm coaching women, while I'm doing, Zooms. I might have on a pair of pajama pants now, but I don't, and just put on a pretty blouse. I can do that. This age that I'm at is an age full of wisdom, full of the mistakes that I made, that I corrected, that I can show somebody else the way. Oh, this is what I did. Don't do this. Try that. And when when you've lived your life, and for me, life is just beginning. This is the best part, because now I can sit down and pour into the younger women. One of the pastors that I listened to on live today said there is an emerging next generation that we must reach, and that's always been my truest passion, to raise up young leaders. And so I'll tell you later in the interview what that's about. But yeah, this is the best age ever.
I love that answer. That is so amazing.
Yes.
I am not quite there yet. I'm only 58.
You don't look it.
You don't look 64, so it's awesome. So what book are you reading now? Are you a book reader?
Oh, yes. I wish I could show it to you. It's called Ferocious Warrior by Cora Jakes Coleman. It is phenomenal because it talks about how we have to learn to dismantle the scheme and the tools of the enemy so that we can walk in our apostolic calling. It's so amazing. Every chapter is filled with tools and ideas and strategies. So yeah, there's been a whole lot of dismantling going on since 2020 started. So that's one of the books that I'm reading. And I'm also reading a book called Spirit-Led Wealth by my spiritual coach, Dr. Sonia Ham, and it teaches individuals about how we can obtain wealth through a spiritual perspective, through spiritual principles, and it's truly amazing.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most exotic place you've ever visited? It can be your kitchen.
Exotic place? I would say there is a hotel in Fort Lauderdale. I believe it's the W. That is probably the most exotic place. Now, I've also been to Haiti, which I felt like the beaches there were very exotic, but the way that the people lived was not. So I don't like that example. Yeah, I mean, the sand is so white and the water is so blue, but when you go to the other side, of the city or the country, you see poverty, and I didn't like that part. So I don't like to consider that my most exotic place.
Haiti is a hard place. I haven't been there, but I have friends who've gone, and it's a tough place because you see the difference between the two. There's such stark difference between the two sides of the island.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Do you create to live or live to create?
Ooh, Cindy.
I know. This is a hard question.
To create or create to live? I would say I create to live. Well, nope. I'm going to say I have to say both. I'm kind of like 50-50 because there is a huge creative side in me. And the reason why I say that is because at this age, God has been downloading so much in me that there is another book coming and another book. And then there's a movie that I want to produce. And it talks about a young girl by the name of Zoe, who is actually, the character of my life from the age of 16 to where I am now. It's phenomenal. So yeah, I create to live and I live to create, because if you create something with your hands, if you create something with your mind, your spirit, your soul, and your heart, and then you give it to God, like he gave me this book, he will manifest it and he will make sure that it comes to pass. But you have to persevere. You have to stand still sometimes, and you have to wait for his instructions and walk in obedience. So I hope I answered your question because that's the answer that the Lord said for me to give.
You answered the question, and I'm also a both person, so I'm
Mhm,
totally there with you.
mhm.
Not too many people choose both, though. I was surprised. There's fewer people than I thought.
Interesting.
Name the person who's had the most influence on your life, whether they're dead or alive.
Oh my goodness, that is so easy, and that is my father. Well, yeah, you said one, so I will be obedient. The late Carl B. Brown Sr. He was a wonderful dad, pastor. He was the greatest mentor. I would sit at his feet, and he would give me wisdom. He would show me hard lessons that I had to learn. He would give me warnings of things that were happening in my life, especially when I was married. And I just enjoyed just sitting there, listening to him tell his stories, listening to him, prophesy what was going to happen in my life, and listening to, how he loved my mom at the age of 16. She was a bride, and they were married 63 years before he passed in 2015. And so every day I still talk to him in the spirit, and I love him for who he created me to be.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me tear up.
Yeah.
What one word describes you best?
Me,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's a strong word and it's relentless. And I wasn't always that way. And I know that some people might take a negative connotation from it, but me being relentless, especially when you're talking about someone, who's spiritual like me. Yesterday, somebody said to me, "Oh, I would like to work with you, but I'm not religious." And said, "Neither am I. I am spiritual." And that means that, again, my book, I am his, I belong to him. He healed me. He inspires me every day. He strengthens me. And when you're relentless, you're not going to let the enemy, you're not going to let someone who has a Jezebel spirit, or someone who doesn't understand your anointing or your calling, distract you from what God has called you to do. So you have to be relentless. You have to, but in a good way.
Mm. Yeah, definitely true. Oh my gosh. All right. So I always ask all of my guests who are coming on, if I only asked you one question, what would that question be? So you gave me this question. I'm going to give it back to you now.
Okay.
What are you truly passionate about?
I am truly passionate about transforming lives of women who have suffered any type of trauma in their life, whether it's broken relationship, abuse, rape, you name it. Women go through a lot. Not to say that men don't, but I'm so passionate about it because there's a lot of things that I've walked through in my life that my children are aware of. I shared a lot of things that I went through in my life. And when you can take a woman, which I believe I talk about one of the young ladies in my book, I gave her a different name. When I saw this, young lady, she was so broken. She was like that little bird on the side of the road that somebody ran over and clipped her wing. And she came from a a poverty mentality. She came from poverty. She was able to rise up above her circumstances and make something of herself. And so the passion is saying that, wow, if I could just help one person, then I believe that I've done what God told me to do. A lot of times when we write books, a lot of times when we get a lot of money in our pockets, there's some people who forget where God took you out of, what he brought you out of. And he always says, take the focus off of you and put the focus back on me, talking about him, and do what I say do. So when he told me to go help this young lady that I used to work with, I didn't want to do it. But then I realized that it was an assignment, and that assignment continued to be my assignment up until this day.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, like, where did that passion start from? So it started from seeing her and seeing her need, and then
Yes,
God really instilling in you that you were to meet that need.
absolutely.
I think sometimes we see the need and we feel like we start praying for somebody else to meet that need.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling lots of times when we're seeing the need, we're seeing it because we actually have something within us that can answer that need.
Yes.
How would you say to people to find that need? To find the resources within themselves. If they like seeing a need and they feel like I don't have any resources for this, how would you?
Well, first of all, you have to be willing to be transparent and to reach out. I mean, God sees what you're going through. You can fake it all you want with your family and your friends, but at the end of the day, God is the one that you can rely on. God is the one that can sustain you. He's your ultimate resource. His word is your ultimate resource. So if you're going through something, and we talked about this in Clubhouse the other day, I began to declare and decree that every woman that's been stuck in a bad relationship, whether they're married or not, that they need to get that off of them and move on with their life, or else they'll never be free. They'll never be truly happy. And so we got to start to look from within. I did a radio show years ago, and the first thing that we talked about was matters of the heart. What's in your heart? If your heart is tainted, if your heart is bruised and it's been broken over and over again, you need to mend it and heal it, because if not, you'll end up in relationships with toxic people, and it just keeps piling up and you'll never get free. So always know that God is your source, and if you begin to speak to him, he will do you like he did me. And he said, I'm pouring my oil all over you, daughter, so that everywhere you go, you're protected, you're covered. That's a beautiful thing. That's even better than intimacy.
Yeah, being protected by God, that's pretty flippin' amazing for sure.
Absolutely.
So what are you doing now?
Oh boy. What I'm doing now is working on my second book, and I'm getting ready to launch my TV show called Take Dominion. It will be on New Beginning TV. It will be broadcast live. It's out of Tazewell, Virginia, but I will be going into the studio once a month starting in May to tape the shows. And then I'm behind the scenes still mentoring young girls at my church. So my plate is always full. I'm never bored. I never run out of things to do. God just keeps giving me, say, okay, you got that accomplished. You got your doctorate. You got your book out of the way. Now it's time to write your next book. And now it's time to really work on the biggest thing that I told you to do. He didn't tell me to release it just yet, but it is something really huge that I'm looking forward to. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of prayer. And I'm going to need a lot of support from people like Cindy. I've already seen the new book cover that's going to come out. So for the rest of my life, I'm going to be writing.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the book that you put out. I'm going to pop it back up on the screen for just a minute. So it is I Am His.
Yes.
How did this book come about? How did you think about,
Believe it or not, and I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, but again, I have to be transparent so I can help somebody else. It started out when I was dealing with church hurt, believe it or not. Not my existing church, but my former church. There was a lot of sabotage going on, things that I was trying to create, in the church. And my spiritual father sat me down. His name is Dr. Kirk Hillman, and he did the forward from my book. And he said, there's no reason for you to be upset about what's happened, because if you created a mentoring program and you didn't want the church to put their name on it, then you shouldn't have brought it to the church. In other words, what he was saying to me was that you will never be satisfied being inside a box. You have to be one of those people that learn how to step outside the box. And go ye therefore, like the book of Matthew 18:28 says, go ye therefore into the world and preach and teach. And so I began to look at my life. There was a lot of stuff going on. I was going through, a bad marriage. And, like I said, the church hurt. And then all of a sudden God said, but I'm about to heal you. And I didn't believe what he was saying because I was so broken and so hurt. And so through all of that, Cindy probably doesn't know this, but I started writing the book about 7 years ago and lost the manuscript, lost the USB drive it was on. Then somebody destroyed my computer, so I lost everything, and I had to start over again. And then finally, one day, God said, "I need for you to be transparent, and I need for you to write authenticity. I don't want my daughters, I don't want my sons to get fluffy stuff. I want them to get the real Roxanne, what you went through. Tell your story, and there's more to tell." And so, wouldn't it be like God? He takes our pain and he turns it into purpose. And so I just began to think about all the things that I went through, the people that mentored me, how I had to conquer fear, how I had to get away from people who were really wasting my time and appreciate who I was in God. And he just kept telling me I am his. And so now from the book, there is a monologue that's coming alongside that. Once we're able to, go back outside, I have a monologue that I will be taking into organizations and churches that I've created. And that is my baby. And I'm so excited because this book means more to me than silver and gold, because I was able to write down what I walked through and hoping that's going to bless somebody. And there's even a lot of scriptures and things in here that when I was going through my deepest, darkest pain were the scriptures that got me from day to day, sometimes moment to moment.
Tell me about it. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
It was like, be still and know. Like
Yeah.
that one for me was just, it held me
Yeah.
so much.
Yes. And mine is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, because I realized and recognized that whatever I did, I couldn't do it on my own strength. I needed him to rely on. He is my best friend.
What was the most challenging part, aside from losing all of your information a few times? But I'm sure that was so God, I think sometimes there's godly delays. Let me just back up a little bit. Sometimes there's godly delays, and sometimes there's, we get in our own way, or there's other kinds of delays, whether it's us delaying or the enemy coming against it. But there are things I do think are godly delays. And it sounds like because of where your book ended up, that some of those, the things disappearing, you could look back and say, these were godly delays.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been the book that it is now.
Right.
Okay. That being said, if someone was trying to write a book, what would you say would be the biggest thing that they need to do?
Commit to the process. Trust the process. Because when you allow, like I said earlier, distractions, people, things that are not bringing value to your life to get in the way of what your true purpose is and the things that God has called you to do, you will get off track. You will get distracted. And so my biggest thing was I was getting distracted by things that I was allowing to distract me. But once I got focused and I sat down and I found the right person to edit the book, and I found the right person to do the book cover and all of that, which is you, Cindy, things became a lot clearer. And so again, when I was writing, I would turn off my phone, wouldn't answer it, no texts, not messenger. And before I started writing, I would go into prayer, because I knew that there would always be a distraction. But if you snuff out the noise, if you remove all of the chaos and all the junk that's in your brain and all that, and you say, okay, God, I don't know what you want me to write, but I'm just following your lead. And I would begin to pray, put on some music, start writing. And I was surprised myself. Wow, you told me to say that? Really? So stay focused, laser focused is what I always preach. Yes.
So did you find a spot in your house that was where you were laser focused? Did you go to a library?
Oh, no. Library was a distraction. It was literally in my dining room early in the morning before I did anything else. Let me rephrase that. after devotions, after being in God's presence, that's when I would write. I would put on some, instrumental music. I listened to Nathaniel Coe a lot. I love his prophetic music. And he would usher me into the presence of God. And then I would ask God to lead me, be my pen as I typed. And I would keep on writing until he told me to stop.
Okay, so you didn't have like a set schedule. It wasn't a set amount of time.
It was always, as I was led to write. So I think they call that molecular something writing. My elder was sharing with me because he wrote a couple books. Yeah, there's all different types of writers. Or I want to rephrase that. Or I could be on the train, and I would take my pad with me, and I would write out what I wanted to say, and then when I got home, I would type it up. So yeah, it was all different times, but the majority, 99% of the time, was sitting at that dining room table.
Did you write it out by hand then? It sounds like you wrote it by hand.
Sometimes I would, yeah, depending on, where I was. If I was on the train, I would write it out by hand and then type it up. Sometimes I would bring my laptop with me and write. So it was all different places, but mainly at the table.
Was writing a book harder or easier than you thought?
Harder than I thought because my brain moves faster than my hands. In other words, I could be thinking a thought, right? And I'm typing, and then I go back and I look at, what did I say? Oh my goodness, yeah. So my brain was moving faster than my hands. And so when it came time for the book to be edited, there was a lot of edits that had to be done because my thoughts were kind of running into one another. And so when we straightened that all out, then it became, something that I was very proud of doing. So yeah, it was harder than I thought. You see somebody.
Go ahead. You see somebody.
Yeah, you see that somebody has written a book and you're like, wow, I could do that until it's time for you to do it.
And I think there's other people who look at people who wrote books and say, I could never do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that too.
There are structured ways that you can do it. Like you wrote as it came to you, which is inspirational writing. That's what I call it. Mm-hmm. And then there's other people who write like so much time a day and they write 15 minutes every day, whether it's something that's going to end up in their book or not, it doesn't really matter. They just write every day. I'm not that writer. I'm more like you. So how important is it to have a good editor?
Extremely important. And I will share the reason why. The book started out 7 years ago with a different title, kind of similar to this. And I gave someone my manuscript, and then I gave a copy to my spiritual father to read. And he said to me, did you give this person money? And I said, yes. Well, I didn't know a lot about writing and editing. I thought I could edit my own book because I'm a good writer and I'm good, whatever. And he said, well, you need to tell her that you no longer need her services because there's no way that she read your manuscript. Your manuscript is all over the place. And I thought, wow. And I was able to receive that from him in love. And he said, it appears to me that this person is just taking your money, but they're not really looking at the purpose behind why you were writing the book. And so I know it was meant for this book to be written. I know that it is meant for this book to become a bestseller. I know this book is written for me to go across the country and talk about my chapters because I found the perfect editor. I prayed about it. And what my editor, Jacqueline Smith, said to me was this: I'm going to warn you, you're not going to like me through this process because I'm going to be correcting things. I'm going to make you go back and look at what you wrote. I'm going to make sure that whatever scripture that you use is coming in the right content. You have to be able to document if it was coming from the King James Version, the New Living Translation, whatever. And once she told me that from the beginning, I knew that she had my best interest at heart. I thought it would never get done being edited, but it did. and now it's a finished product. And I know God is well pleased. And so I would tell anyone, do your research. Don't be so quick to write a book just to write a book. Get the right people in place, get the right editor, the right person to do your book cover, somebody that you can communicate with on a regular basis. So Jacqueline and I, we would meet once a week when we were getting closer to the end. And the more we met, the more we talked, the more the book began to flow. And we rearranged chapters and we put stuff over here and we did that. So, yes, it is extremely important that you get the right editor.
Yeah.
Extremely.
What do you want people who maybe are seeing the book sitting on the shelf in the store and wondering, should I get this? What would you say to them? What do you want them to know?
Certainly. Well, when I look at the cover, if I were going to Barnes and Noble looking for something, to read, if I was a woman that really wants to understand who they are and that they are special to God, I would pick up this book and say, why did this author say I am his? Because when you look at it from a physical perspective, a lot of women desire, right, that are not married, desire to be loved by a man. They want to be pampered. They want to be treated well. And there's nothing wrong with that. Been married, been in, a few relationships in my life. But when I think about knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that I belong to God, that he says that he has my best interest at heart, he will never hurt me. He will never leave me. He will never forsake me. He will forgive me. He will heal my hurt. He will deliver me from fear or whatever. We as women need to understand that he wants the best for us. So when you look at this book, when you go into the bookstore, if you go on to Amazon and you see the words, I am his glory carrier, God is a jealous God. And we know that he goes from glory to glory to glory. We know what he did. We know, how he protected us even when he sent his son to die on the cross. But more importantly, there is information in this book to teach you about who you are, to teach you about self-worth, to teach you that you never have to settle for anything less than what you desire because you belong to him. I am his, and I feel so special because of that.
Wow. Who do you think this book most will minister to?
Hurting hearts, and there's a lot of them out there. Hurting hearts, hurting women, hurting men. Even men can relate to some of the things that I put in my book. And they're like, you know what? I've been through something similar like that. And again, the Holy Spirit doesn't let me sleep. I get about 4 hours of sleep every day, but it's enough for me because he wakes me up in the middle of the night and he has me interceding for women that I don't even know. He has me interceding for the young girl that, had a misunderstanding with her mom and now she's out in the street and she ends up in a transition house for the, young woman that's, pregnant. It seems that, being preggo is popular now and they even have reveal parties and all this other stuff, but they're forgetting that God says that I am a jealous God, I am a just God. And we've gotten so caught up in the newness of life that we forget the old principles of what God says who we are. And so if you've suffered any type of hurt, whether it was church hurt from your family, even where you hurt yourself. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chapter in that about that too. Self-sabotage. When you say to yourself, why in the world did I do that? Why did I go over there? Why did I get in a relationship with this person? Why? And God says, but guess what? Everything that you've been through, I'm using it for my glory. Why not you? Because if you had not been through any of those things, would you have learned anything?
Yeah.
Now you're more humble.
The better question of why instead of why is what purpose is this happening in my life for?
Yes.
instead of why. What
Yeah.
purpose is this happening?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And now we can laugh. We can laugh at, oh wow, I went through that. And the enemy kept coming after me. That's the best you have? I'm still here. Where many people are no longer here. Many people are still, like I said, hiding behind the rock and hiding behind their husband, hiding behind, and they wake up one morning at the age of 60 or 70 and realize they don't know who they are. They know that they're a wife, they know that they're a mom, they know that they're a sister or whatever. But who are you really? And I can proclaim and declare and decree that I am His because He created me
Mm.
in His image. And He said, I am a jealous God. And always remember that I'm going to protect you no matter what. I will never put you in harm's way. If you get in harm's way, it's from your own doing. And if something would happen that you would fall and you would fall short, I'm going to pull you back because there's still more purpose in you. So, purpose meets desire, meets destiny. And we always should remember that there's a mission for each and every one of us. I'm going to try to find somebody who can create some what do you call those? You know, when husband and wives get married and they have the Mr. and Mrs. towels. No, I want everything in my house to remind me that I'm his towels, and you know, maybe even get a photo and put it up on my wall, my bedroom of my book, and say I am his, so that I can remind myself when the counterfeits come, when the enemy comes after me, my mind, when the enemy tries to attack my body, that God reminds me through my book that I belong to Him.
Yeah. So what do those counterfeits look like?
Oh, well, one of the counterfeits is jealousy. Another counterfeit is deceit. Oh, there's a lot. Strife,
So
anger.
unpack those a little bit more for me.
Sure. Okay, so for those of you who are spiritual, you know about the Jezebel spirit. The Jezebel spirit never leaves you alone, always taunting you, always after your anointing. Beware of that. That's one of them. Deceit. People will deceive you when you don't know the truth. They will tell you things that make you feel good, but at the end of the day, they're doing things for their own gain. Number 3, when it comes to hurt, you got to deal with the hurt. Do not hold on to it. We as human beings, we could get our feelings hurt every single day. But if we don't release it and give it back to God, it just piles up. And this just came to mind, Cindy. When I got ordained as a prophet, I was at the beach. We were at a beach house. This is going to help somebody. And the prophet in the house said, there's somebody here that doesn't want to see this happen for you. Now I'm thinking, I'm in a place with 35 other Christian women, but there was a Jezebel in the camp that did not want the ordination to go forth. And as they were pouring the oil on me, my eyes were closed, but God told me to look out the window where I could see the ocean. And He said, "You see all those women that are they were what do you call it being brought up from the shore. In other words, they were just that you could see bodies of women. There was a bunch of them. They were just coming out of the water, and God was laying them on the beach on the sand. And He said, those are all the women that I want you to go help, because you know what hurt looks like. They have died a spiritual situation, but now it's time for you to resurrect them and restore them, because they've been so hurt that internally, they are dead, and you need to wake them up." And I thought, wow, that to me was powerful. And here I was thinking, well, I'm getting ordained, but there was somebody in the room that was trying to hurt me because they did not want me to go forth. But here's the thing: when you know that you belong to God, and when you know that you're dealing with that hurt, you got to remove yourself from it immediately. You have to go into your prayer closet. You have to begin to proclaim the things that God already told you in private. And then you need to give it back to Him and say, I no longer desire to be in the company of people who are not going to celebrate me, but to be in the company of people who they were hurt just like me, but they want to be healed now. And I could go on and on and on. It's in the book. Some of it is in the book. And that's probably going to be, it's going to be part of the next book when I talk about what my father taught me about spiritual principles and all that. So there's just a plethora of things that we could say, what we need to deal with and how we can help people. But at the end of the day, it's all based on your emotional state of mind. Because a lot of us, have the hurt and we have the fear and we have the resentment. I mean, God, it's in the word. But what does God say? The fruit. What does your fruit look like? I want my fruit to look good. And I want it to taste sweet.
Taste sweet. That's right. That's right. Taste
sweet. I love peaches and plums. Oh, God. And straw. Yeah, I love fruit. I could eat fruit all day long. So we got to choose our fruit. And you got to be the fruit. People will see the fruit on you.
Be the fruit. Become the fruit. No. So there's a lot of talk in the world right now. We're both on Clubhouse, so I'm sure you've seen some of these rooms.
Yes.
A lot of talk about emotional intelligence. And I think that a lot of what you were saying ties into that. Because when we are hurt severely, I mean, I think back to my own life, and I had a situation in my life where I literally had to shut off my emotions in order to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's the piece, right? There's so many women with their emotions completely shut off. Will this book that you've written help them with that?
Absolutely. I wanted to try to turn to something real quick that the Lord told me to share. Let me see if I can find it quick, but yes, you will. Oh, chapter 16. The title of the chapter is In His Presence. And it talks about a situation like you that I was in where I had to shut down my emotions. God began to remind me of what was in the corner of my mind. And He began to minister to me. And He said to me, I have my hand on you. And then I wrote, I know who I am. It is time to proclaim who you are. Like the trials of Job, we all have to go through the tough tests when it comes to our emotions. Maya Angelou was my favorite poet, and she inspired me to keep writing what was in my heart because I wanted to get rid of the hurt, and I didn't know how to do that. And so, in essence, we never know who God is going to use to inspire us on our journey, Cindy. We never know the emotions that God is going to use to get us from this place to that place, from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday. And normally it's in the people that we serve.
Awesome. Okay, so earlier you were talking, what was that?
I love this.
Earlier you were talking about helping young women. And I would love for this last 10 minutes here to be about what is that ministry to you? How does that work? How can people work with you? What can they do?
Ministering to young women is something that I just love. Now, I have one granddaughter. She's 8 years old. And every day when I look at her, when I see the talents that are being cultivated in her, I say, God, let her know. We call her Princess G. Let her know that she's a princess, so that as she gets older in life, the things that she goes through, the friends that she has, she will always feel special. So we always try to make her feel special. Now, for me, I believe that I felt like a princess growing up as well. I had an uncle who always catered to me, would take me places every year on my birthday, buy me the best of clothes. But these young girls today, whew, they're off the chain, even in the church, because nobody taught them. It's not their fault, because maybe their mothers didn't know. So every Wednesday, every second and fourth Wednesday, I have a Zoom meeting with my mentors and the mentees, and we talk about things that young girls deal with. They struggle with low self esteem, they struggle with body image, they struggle with peer pressure and bullying and on and on. And these are all things that I went through, like most teenage girls growing up. And so early, probably about the age of 14 or 15, I was ministering to my friends. Don't go, don't do this. And what happens, which is in my book, at the age of 16, I went somewhere with a friend of mine that I wasn't supposed to go. And my father had us on a strict curfew. I'm going to wrap that up. And I knew that what I did was wrong, but I did it anyway. Again, free will. But the devastation of what happened, I was in a real bad car accident and I nearly lost my life.
Wow.
And after that happened to me, you know, the disruption in my life going from 10th grade to 11th grade, I sat down with my father and I said, I didn't mean to do what I did. And so I'm sorry. And from that moment on, every time I could look up, especially when I was a single mom, my children will tell you that I had young girls in my house, young girls who came from disadvantaged families, young girls who were being molested by their fathers. And oh my God, just who knows why God puts these passions in us? But it brought me to a place to say, I got to save them. Because if we don't try to save some of them, who will be left to lead the world, the next generation? So all these young girls are emerging and they're asking questions. How do I become a leader? I don't want to be a follower. I want to learn, you know, how you got through, you know, what you went through. I just love being with them because they're full of creativity. And somebody just needs to cultivate the gift that they have inside of them. And my sons will tell you, I could do this with my eyes closed. If I was blind, I would still mentor. I would still do it. And there's something in the horizon that's going to be happening with young girls soon as well. So I just love being with them.
That's awesome. I'm so excited and glad that you're doing that. It's such a great blessing.
Yes.
So if somebody wanted to connect with you, the best place for them to find you is over on Facebook, right?
Correct. Yes.
So, and it's Dr. Rock Inspires as far as the little handle, but then what are they seeing when they get there? It's Dr. Rock from within?
Yes, Dr. Rock. Dr. Rock. Wait a minute. Now I'm getting confused.
You send it to me. Let me look it up. Dr. Rock leading from
within. I had a brain freeze just for a minute. Yeah. And again,
let's talk about branding just for a second, because you know, when we brand ourselves, our brands, we think we have to have it all together and we have to know exactly what we're doing. Our brands will grow with us. Our brands will shift a little bit. So I've had at Be Bold You and Be Bold You for quite some time. And that has been really quite a staying thing. And then I wrote the book, Becoming Bold You. And so now I'm becoming known, you know, as that too. So it's kind of like Be Bold You, Becoming Bold You. And then Cindy Lou, my name by itself, is another piece of my brand. So people can find me all of those ways. And it can sometimes be confusing, and we don't want to confuse people.
Right.
So I've put that up on the screen so people can see it. They can look at it right there and find it. Facebook.com/Dr. Rock Inspires. But when you get to the page, it will say Dr. Rock leading from within.
Correct. Yes.
All right. And the book they can buy on
Oh,
Amazon.
buy the
There it is. We will also pop that into the comments. Let me grab it real quick, and I'm going to pop it. I might actually still have it. Pop it into the comments so that if people want to get that book, they can just pop on there and click on the comments. So there we go. For both Facebook and YouTube, it is there if you want to order it. And let me put in that Facebook one. Okay, so Facebook, it said it didn't go. That's all right. I'll check it later. I will check it later because sometimes it's actually there.
Yeah, and you can also go to my personal page, which is just Roxanne Brown Robinson. I put just a little bit of everything on my personal page, but I'm learning to separate personal from business because, again, like Cindy said, we don't want to confuse people. So just look up Roxanne Brown Robinson, you'll find me. I have about 5,000 friends, and I had to delete some friends so I can make room for some more new friends, people that are really engaging with me like they do with Cindy. And I have another page, Coach Roxanne Brown, where I do most of my coaching clients from that page. And I'm on Facebook every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock p.m. from my personal page, where I do a masterclass in sync with God. Again, teaching women how to, recover from trauma, teaching women how to, put their life back together. We used to say this saying, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. You know that one, Cindy. I can't remember. And so we take all the broken pieces and say, okay, this is what your finances look like. This is what your health looks like. This is what your relations look like. Now, where do you want to go from here? And if they're still stuck, I can't make them, but I give them pearls of wisdom. That's how I lead from within, because everything comes and spreads out from the heart.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming and sharing this time with me and sharing about your book and what you're doing now and the ministry that you're doing with young people. I absolutely love it. Can't wait to hear what the next big thing is that you're not allowed to release yet. Talk about leaving us with wanting more. There you go.
Absolutely. I'll let you know as soon as he allows me to release it. I will make sure I contact you, and we can probably come back and talk about that because it's huge. And so I want to nurture that baby. It's all good. It's for the kingdom, and we're going to make it happen.
And for those who are over on Clubhouse, you can find either of us over there. We're both doing stuff over there, having rooms, talking to people, inspiring and encouraging people. I'm doing it with my Be Bold You personality stuff, and you're doing it with all that you're doing. So,
yes.
So exciting. Loving Clubhouse. Love also that we can come here and do these Facebook Lives and also simulcast to YouTube. So how fun is that? And until next week, when my guest is, I didn't look it up. Shame on me. My guest is Angela Kim, and we're going to be talking about choosing life again if you had a choice to do it. So yeah, she's been through some things. She's got a great story. She's got a great story. So come back next week and we will share that with you. Any last words?
Yes, I want to say to everyone that's listening today, I hope you took notes, and please feel free to contact me with any questions. If you need, spiritual counseling or coaching, I'm here. And I just want to let you know that God does love you and you do belong to him as well. So I'm not singling anybody out, but just reach out because you have a purpose. So live on purpose because you have a purpose to live. This is Dr. Rock signing out, taking you to the top, teaching you how to win in life.
Awesome. And this is Cindy Lou of the Be Bold You podcast, signing away with my phrase that I always say, remember to live your life out loud and be bold you.